So before we start this episode, I wanted to apologize to you viewers and listeners because I made an amateur mistake and forgot to turn on my microphone in this episode. So all the audio from my microphone is actually coming from my MacBook Pro, which sounds obviously horrible. So now we have some checks in place to make sure that never happens again. I've just, again, wanted to apologize for the sound quality or lack thereof. All right, so here's the episode. So we got a 4.6 out of 5 overall with 17 ratings, which is, I think, pretty good.
I'll take that.
I think we have like 1 or 2 1 stars, and there's a 1 or 2 3 stars, which to me, the 3 star is the most interesting type of review because it's like not bad, but not great, right? And it's like, what is that 3 star saying? So I did want the person actually left a written review, and it was fairly thoughtful, I thought. And here's what it says. It says, I gave this podcast a go due to Jeff Benjamin's 9-to-5 Mac work. After a few episodes, I found that the negativity and whining was too much for me to enjoy it.
Oh, man.
The sound quality was top notch, and the potential to add solutions beyond or behind the whining is there. But in its current state, the complaining is exhausting. Room for improvement exists in every company from the poorest to the richest. Maybe I'll try again in a few months.
Interesting.
I mean,
I wonder what are we whining about? I'm curious.
I think he's probably talking about me. Like, I don't think...
Nah.
I mean, to be honest, like, I'm probably the one that complains more. I feel like I'm probably just a little bit more jaded in the whole tech space, but...
You've been around the block, you know?
Yeah.
You've experienced it all.
Been in the game for 20 years plus, but point taken, like, I get it. I don't like a lot of complaining either. I don't like a lot of, I mean, who wants to hear people whine all day? Yeah, not to say that that's what we're doing, but I mean, I think it's a fair review. Like, I think I can get on a little tangent sometimes about like little negative things and just like,
I guess, a perfect, those sports goes out there. Like, I usually watch, so, my Miami Heat won last night, so which is awesome in the playoffs. But, like, I'll watch the highlights of the games that they won, and I'll listen to the post-game interviews of the games that they won because they're all positive. After the games that they lost, I don't watch the highlights, I don't watch the post-game because I don't want to hear all the negativity that people have to say. So I kind of get it, like you said. I understand for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean... The thing is, you want to strike a balance because we don't want to be like Apple's shills either.
Yeah.
Like, I'm definitely not that. It's part of the reason why Apple doesn't send product review stuff. It's like I will tell it like it is. Like, if a product is trash, I'm going to say it's. I may not say it's trash, but I'll say it. Make it clear that's my thought on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
I don't know it.
I'm trying to think back if you being truthful, you're not complaining too much. You're not whining, for sure. Trust me, I have a daughter. She whines. We're not whining. But I do appreciate the transparency, and I feel like that's a good critique as opposed to just like bashing somebody for no reason.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate that.
I thought it was constructive. Like, it wasn't unfair at all. Like, it was real. So I appreciate real. And it is good to kind of check yourself sometimes to see maybe I am a little too negative. I could probably tone it down just a little bit and be a little bit more positive. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and be like everything's
like, I love the lightning cable charging on the Magic Mouse because it's amazing.
Yeah. You're not going to hear that at all.
Yeah.
So like you were saying before I interrupted with this tangent, it is a big week because Apple announced that they are having an event coming up on May 7th, which is a little less than 2 weeks away. So that's exciting because feel like we've been waiting on this for a while now. So
yeah. No, I'm definitely a little giddy. May 7th, let loose, which I thought was a curious slogan. I'm still not 100% sure what that slogan could mean. I don't know, we'll kind of dissect it a little bit here, but overall I'm excited. We, for the most part, know what to expect. The invite had a hand with an Apple Pencil in there. So, I mean... iPad Air, iPad Pro, Magic Keyboard, Apple Pencil. What are you expecting, and what are you most excited for?
I'm expecting an Apple Pencil for sure.
There
Like I
better be.
know that's. I mean, Tim Cook's own tweet says pencil us in for May 7th, and he has
Yeah, come
a
on.
pencil emoji. Like there's definitely going to be a new Apple Pencil. If there's nothing else, we know that for sure. So yeah, so the Apple Pencil 3, that obviously what it's going to be called. Probably it's going to be pressure sensitive with those squeeze gestures that we were able to find in the code on iOS 17 beta. There's rumored to be replaceable magnetic tips. I'm still not 100% sold on that rumor.
Yeah.
That's,
Have you ever found the need to replace a tip, or no?
I have not, but I don't use my Apple Pencil
A
much at
ton.
all.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I feel
so
like I'm not like drawing with it. I'm not doing a ton of handwritten notes, but I've never replaced. I've had to replace an Apple Pencil. Well, not replace. I lost an Apple Pencil, so I bought another one. But I've never
mhm.
replaced the tips, and I do use those matte screen protectors that apparently grind it down even more.
Mhm.
But I've never had to replace an Apple Pencil tip. But again, I'm not an artist, so let us know if you're a big Apple Pencil user. How often do you actually replace those tips? Because I'm very curious to know.
Yeah, I know you can buy them. I actually bought some. Like
Oh yeah,
just you know how I do. Like
yeah.
just buy
Let me
just
just
to
add it to
try
the
it.
cart.
Yeah, yeah. And I never actually used them. So
They already come off pretty easily. You just unscrew them and screw them in. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe just a different way of Apple loves their magnets. So
yeah, and they're supposedly. I mean, the rumor was that they would be for different sorts of drawing applications, like
okay,
maybe for a paintbrush
yeah,
tip, or a marker or
mm-hmm.
highlighters, different tips like that for different artistic purposes. So I don't know.
Okay. So that makes a little bit more sense. So it's like going to be
Mm.
physically different a little bit. That also plays with the software differently. So
Yeah.
okay, that I can see happening because again, I'm just handwriting and jotting down stick figures for the most part in the Notes app.
And it's going to have Find My support, so you don't have to worry about losing your pencil anymore. I feel like we've had this conversation
Are
a
you having a
dozen
deja vu
times
moment?
already. Yeah, there's going to be Find My support.
Yeah.
There's going to be Find My support.
But does that
There's
mean
going
there's
to
going
be
to be a
Find My
speaker in
support.
there or no? Maybe a little something, kind of similar to how the AirPods Pro got speakers in the new version.
I don't. I mean, it depends on if there's like a what is that? The ultra wide band,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah. Ultra
Yeah,
wideband. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So I mean that should definitely help out in terms of because I lose that thing all the time. Even when I put it in my backpack, the Apple Pencil always ends up in the bottom of my backpack, no matter what.
Yeah, I could see it actually having an ultra wideband chip versus it just giving you the last location it was. Just
Yeah.
because the pencil was like it's so easy to lose and
So
it
easy
could
to
fit
lose.
in so many different crevices and
Hmm.
I think ultra wideband would like having precise tracking would be really beneficial for that device.
It seems like a no-brainer too, especially now in 2024.
Yeah.
So Apple Pencil definitely coming. Now I wonder if the form factor is going to change at all, and if Apple, because again there have been rumors about Apple finally moving the camera to the correct spot, in my opinion, for the iPad Pro. Is that going to change how you charge it? Are you going to charge it in a different aspect or a different location on the iPad? Is the form factor going to change at all because of that fact? That's also another thing that I kind of want to know. Or is it just going to be the same exact thing with some internal differences?
What honestly would prevent them from using the exact same charging location, even with the landscape oriented camera?
Right? The argument's like, is there going to be enough space? But even if there isn't, I'm sure they could engineer a way to maybe have the magnet in the middle, or no, maybe have the camera in the middle, but the charger's on the right or left of the magnet
That's
or
what I
the
was
camera
thinking.
or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
still looks like it's in the middle when you actually magnetically attach it. So,
Not only do you have that accessory, but then there's the Magic Keyboard, which I feel like we've waxed poetic about quite a bit
yeah.
as well. So that's going to be, more laptop-like, be aluminum, larger trackpad. But you were mentioning the iPad Pro,
Hmm.
the fact that it's going to be thinner, it's
Yeah.
going to have OLED, it's going to have the proper oriented
Hmm.
camera, which is a wonderful thing. Obviously,
Finally.
the M3 chip. To me, the biggest like question mark on this whole thing is the price. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of where I want to know. Like, what are we looking at here?
It's definitely going to increase in price. It's just a matter of how much. Is it $100? Is it 400? Is it a lot more? You know how Apple likes to do their pricing ladder, right? You start at the 329 with the iPad 10 or iPad 9 generation, and somehow you end up buying a fully loaded iPad Pro, right? Because you just start upgrading the storage, and you're like, oh wait, let me get an iPad Air instead, and then upgrade the storage again. And then now with the 12.9-inch iPad Air, which is rumored to come out as well, which is supposed to take, I'm assuming $749, $800, which would be the price of the old 11-inch iPad Pro. So that's another decision you're gonna have to make, right? Do you want the larger screen, or do you want the more powerful chip and the better display on the iPad Pro 11 inch? So I think price wise, the 12.9 inch iPad Pro is going to start with 256 gigs of storage, and maybe, I don't know, $12.99, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. I mean, in a silo, maybe it's worth it, but when you start to compare it on all of Apple's other hardware devices, like their MacBook Air and things like that, it's just a tough sell, especially if you're using it, especially if you only have $1,300 to spend once, as opposed to having to buy it as a supplemental device to your current MacBook Air or MacBook Pro. So that's what I think price-wise. It's going to be interesting. And we're going to put buying guides together for sure to figure out exactly who this is going to be for. But I think the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is going to be a pretty niche product.
I think most people are going to go with the iPad Air. Here's the bad thing, though, is that Ross Young posted another report that says, oh, actually, it does look like the iPad Air will get the display from the iPad Pro, the mini LED display. So looks like we're just going to have a regular LCD display for the iPad Air, which significantly makes, like, it changes my thoughts on that device a little bit. Granted, I still think it's going to sell the most because of just the size, but it's not quite as compelling as it once seemed.
No, I agree. Which the display is fine, and for most people, unless you're really holding them side by side, you're not going to tell, right? I mean, maybe the OLED you'll be able to tell, but from a ProMotion to 60 hertz display type of comparison, you know, it's tough to tell unless you're looking at them both together side by side. And of course, we know. Like, I used my brother got a 15 Plus, the iPhone, and I used it for a second, and I was like, oh, you know, you can see how slow these pages are changing, or when the animations to open up an application, you kind of feel it a little bit. But again, if you are not used to the 120 hertz display or the ProMotion display, you're going to be fine. And I think the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is going to sell like hotcake. Or iPad Air, I'm sorry. Yeah. 12.9-inch iPad Air is going to sell big time.
Yeah, absolutely will sell a lot. So, I mean, that's really the whole gist of this this event is all about iPad, obviously all about iPad accessories, and that's it in a nutshell.
But some cool Easter eggs that happened with the Apple Invite. So if you go onto the website, and I don't know if they're still doing it, but at least on the day that they announced the event, they were, every time you refresh the homepage, you got a different Apple logo, which to me indicates maybe some sort of new pen tool coming out, maybe. Apple likes to add they've added a few pen tools since the very beginning, because of the way, I don't know, the different, how they were drawn. They look like drawn Apple logos with different types of pen tools. So that's something. But what I'm most curious about is what let loose means, right? Like, what are you breaking free from? Are you breaking free from iPad OS maybe a little bit? Is the Apple Pencil going to be able to be used with something else? Because it is in handwriting, so I don't know. The let loose slogan to me is the biggest question mark. It's like, all right, what does that mean exactly? What am I breaking free from?
The money in the wallet's going to be breaking free, that's for sure. Like,
yeah,
that's one thing. It's going to be let loose.
That Apple Card is going to be fully loaded. Like you said, the iPad event, the Apple Pencil event in a nutshell. I'm just excited to see Tim Cook jump out there. Maybe give us another snarky smile of inserting the M3 chip into the iPad Pro. And I'm just excited for it. I'm still using the M1 iPad Pro, so it's going to be a nice upgrade for me.
I don't know if I'm going to upgrade necessarily, just because my current iPad is just still so good.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy how well these things are built and just how well it performs even after several years. I'm really not wanting for anything necessarily. The display is still amazing. I'm sure the OLED display will be better, but
how much better, you know?
Yeah, I just don't know if I'll do it.
You still got your Vision Pro, which you're going to be using that on airplanes now instead of an iPad, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Is what we learned. So I guess, again, it's going to be a very niche product on the iPad Pro side. I will be one of the ones to pick it up, so definitely leave some questions to see exactly what you guys want to know about that iPad Pro. But then this week you did drop us a little NAB video review. You went to NAB this past weekend or 2 weekends ago, and it looked exciting. A nice half-hour episode. I enjoyed every bit of it, for sure.
I was telling everyone in Slack this was my first time really, like I've been to NAB, I can't even count how many times, but it was the first time I've actually hit the showroom floor and did interviews with various ones, and actually had mic them up and everything. And it was a nice learning experience.
Nice.
I already know how I'm going to do it next year a little bit better. But it was just fun being able to catch up with people that I've been talking to for the last, I don't know, 7, 8 years.
That's awesome.
Visiting these shows, like seeing the same people.
Yeah.
It's just kind of cool. But obviously, we had the LumaFusion interview, which is a more lengthier interview there. We talked about the new new features in LumaFusion. Those look really good. New easing in and out. Being able to actually have a freeze frame easily, which is
crazy
awesome.
that it wasn't around.
There'll be other features as well.
Yeah. The keyframing was cool too.
Yeah,
making it a lot easier. Because right now, if you wanted to keyframe on pretty much anything, it's very manual. Like it's very
tedious.
Very tedious. That's a perfect word for it. So making it easier, making it more fluid, and again, they focus so hard on being a touch-first interface that it's going to make it a lot better for it to create some awesome animations as opposed to taking half an hour to do something that's going to be 3 seconds.
Yeah. Another thing that they talked about was having way more tracks, which is, I think, what did he say, 16? I think it's.
Yeah, he said 16 video and 32 audio. Am I mistaken? I think that's what they said in the interview.
It was a lot.
It was a lot, yeah, for sure.
More than most people are going to need. Which is interesting because as a Final Cut Pro user, you don't really use tracks. Like it's not even really part of it's a different editing system with Final Cut. So the concept of tracks is kind of not something that we're used to. But if you use Premiere Pro, you use DaVinci Resolve, obviously you have tracks there. You use Avid Media. There's tracks there. So just having more tracks means basically having more opportunities to overlap and layer your video to make really complex videos.
Yeah.
And the iPad can handle that. With more powerful iPads. The M2, I believe he specifically name dropped Chris Damiris, co-founder of LumaFusion or LumaTouch. He specifically name dropped the M2 as being able to handle that. Whereas lesser versions may have lesser tracks.
But even so, what I like about LumaFusion is that even if you do have an iPad 9 generation, he was mentioning yes, it'll still be able to handle 4K video up to 6 tracks, and they'll still open it up physically on the software to do more than that, to have titles and other effects jumping in there. So it's crazy how much you can do with an iPad 9 generation with LumaFusion. Especially if you have enough storage. I will recommend. My iPad storage was near full, and it was slowing down LumaFusion, cleaned it all out, and now it's working like a charm. So if you're, make sure you give yourself a good amount of capacity on LumaFusion, and it's going to work wonders.
So you're going for 2 terabytes?
Ooh, it depends how much Apple's going to charge for that premium. Let's see.
That's going to be expensive.
That's going to be a $3,000 iPad.
Do I have a 2 terabyte iPad?
You might. Did you say you gone fully loaded? You might have gone fully loaded.
Hold on, let me just check real quick.
Yeah. Because I know you definitely have the one with 16 gigs of RAM. For sure.
Yeah, I have that, but capacity.
2 terabytes?
2 terabytes.
That's crazy. So you must have spent a pretty penny on that one. That's probably why you don't want to upgrade it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and here's the thing. It's I'm not trying to be negative, but Apple resell for their storage is not very good.
It's non-existent, right?
Yeah, you don't. It depends on if you're able to find the perfect customer who's specifically looking for that type of storage. Then you can do a little bit better. But in general, you don't really get nearly as much back for storage. Anything over the base model, right?
Yeah. Even when it comes to trading credit, if you trade in your iPad Pro directly to Apple, they'll give you the same amount for 128 compared to a 2 terabyte one, which is crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Which is wild. And they're over here charging $200 per jump, Whereas I have a T7 right here that's cost me $149 for 2 terabytes. And it's been a year and it still has 1.5 terabytes left, So that's Apple's storage. That's how you end up, upgrading from the 9th generation to the iPad Pro. They just get you.
But that being said, and Apple knows this, it's so convenient to have built-in storage.
It really is.
Such it doesn't sound like a big deal to plug in an external SSD, but it changes the form factor of the device, right? Because it's you have to accommodate. You don't want this SSD hanging from your iPad, and so there's different ways to mount it, and it's just not as clean, I guess you could say.
And then same thing goes on the software. So because you can also argue just upload it to iCloud. You have 2 terabytes of iCloud storage, but especially if you're using it the way that I'm using it, which is to edit video, it takes too long for it to, because first it's got to download off of iCloud whatever video you had, and then it's got to import into LumaFusion. Even though it is kind of automated and it's there, it just really slows you down and bogs you down. So having built-in storage that's accessible and immediately is definitely an underrated thing that goes overlooked.
Far underrated. Yeah. It's huge. It's one of the reasons why. I purchased an 8 terabyte MacBook before, and
That's
it was
crazy.
It was amazing. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
I wonder where that thing is now.
Yeah, I think it was literally in Russia last time I checked. Because for some reason I was still able to track it. I don't know.
Interesting.
And this was several years back.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to see how you sell something and who knows where to end up.
Exactly.
But anyway,
I don't know how we got to that tangent out of now.
Yeah,
but
you know how I am, man. You can viable to go anywhere with.
Let's reel him back in. Bring him back.
Yeah, reel me back in.
Yeah.
Man. All right, so Atomos Ninja Phone, which, as I spoke about in my post, it got a lot of flack online. People were making fun of it because it only can record 1080p. You know the Atomos products. Do you wear those?
I don't think so.
Sort of.
Walk me through it.
So Atomos products are basically their monitors/recorders.
Okay.
They sit on top of your camera.
Yeah.
And they plug in with an HDMI cable, and basically instead of recording to the CF Express or the SD card, it records directly to an SSD that's inside the monitor, right?
Okay, cool.
Got dust floating around. So it records to an SSD inside the monitor, and the monitor it's a nice monitor, right? It's a 1080p monitor. It allows you to do things like zoom in on the screen to see. It basically gives you a bigger screen, right?
Yeah.
So you can see and monitor and make sure everything's in focus and things like that. But it can also record. Well, so Atomos released what they call the Atomos Ninja Phone, which basically allows you to use your iPhone as the monitor and recorder, right?
Okay.
So it's a little device which you attach your iPhone in, and then you can use that as your Atomos Ninja, basically.
Interesting.
But it's your phone. The benefit of that, and the huge thing that I think a lot of people are overlooking, they're just so focused on its inability to record 4K, is the fact that the phone screen is so much better than any monitor that Atomos sells. You get this OLED display with a 2,000,000:1 contrast ratio, 460 PPI.
Yep.
HDR capability, 1600 nits. That's not the type of monitor that you normally see, selling for $500.
No, for sure.
So
it's taking advantage of that big time.
Yeah. So if you're and one of the cool things, you can actually pinch to zoom, which you can't do on the Atomos standalone monitors, which I've never understood that, but you couldn't do it. So to me, it looks pretty cool. I would probably use it more so as a monitor than a recorder, but it can record. It has camera to cloud functionality, so you can upload directly to Frame.io, and then have collaboration. You can upload and stream directly to YouTube. It does a lot of cool little things. And I heard from Lil Birdie that they are actually working on a 4K enabled version of that. But I'm looking forward to checking it out because to me, the monitoring functionality of the phone is what makes it compelling.
Yeah.
To me.
I mean, that seemed to be a running theme with the video that you made. It's everybody's rigging their iPhones to be their end all be all of content creation, which is crazy to think about, man. I mean, obviously we saw, what was that 17K camera, which was absurd, but outside of that, it was just people taking full advantage of the best camera that they have in their pocket, which is 99% of the time it is an iPhone. So being able to rig that together and just have a full, almost walking studio, right, is amazing.
That's kind of the gist. That's kind of where I was getting, what I was getting from the show as well. It's finally with the release of the 15 Pro
USB-C.
with the USB-C, that was a game changer right there.
Funny little story. My dad, he still has an iPhone 12 Pro Max because he's like, oh, it's all the same. Your iPhone looks the same as mine. Da 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 da. And I'm like, yeah. For the most part, especially for what you're using it for. But he loves to go on motorcycle rides, and he's got GoPros, and he's all decked out with all these cameras for no real reason, just for fun. He doesn't publish them or anything. But literally the best use case that I showed him the other day was I was trying to offload this SD card footage onto a hard drive, and he's got this old computer that he doesn't want to bring with him, and this and that. So I was like, this is where a 15 Pro Max would be perfect. You get a USB-C hub, put the SD card in there, plug the hard drive in the other side, and you could just offload all that footage because you have a USB-C 3.0 on your iPhone. He literally ran to T-Mobile the next day, traded in his iPhone 12 Pro Max, bought himself a 15 Pro, and now he's on the road recording his stuff. So
That's
USB-C
funny.
really opens up the door for a lot of, just media opportunities, which we didn't have before with that slow lightning cable.
Yeah, it was like just a one massive bottleneck, and it's like,
Yeah.
why? Why do we have this bottleneck there? So removing that literally changed the game, and we're seeing products like this. We're also seeing things like the Tilta Chronos like ecosystem, which is, Tilta is well known within the camera industry for making accessories, add-ons for cameras. In fact, this little cage right here is a Tilta cage on
Nice.
the FX30, right? And some of these base plates or stuff like down here are Tilta base plates. So they're known for like the ability to rig up your camera. This allows you to add more stuff to it, like these rods here, which allows you to add a follow focus or whatever the case may be. I added a big battery pack to the back of this
Nice.
guy. So what Tilta's done with the iPhone is they basically kind of taken that same concept. They've created a case or a cage for the iPhone, and they have these modular points where you can attach all sorts of things like handles, SSDs, lights,
Nice.
all sorts of things, ND filters, all these things, lenses, obviously, and that's really the whole gist of that system. But what's really cool is that the Blackmagic Camera app, when you combine those two, you really get like a full-on video camera, like a powerful video camera. You have the USB-C, so you're recording directly to an SSD. You have the ability to shoot in log. It's just
Crazy.
like Apple really like changed the game with the 15 Pro. This is the first phone I feel like, yes, it could replace a standalone camera if you really
Yeah.
worked hard at it.
In a professional setting, because I feel like for the last few years we've been able to replace the point and shoot camera for fun, for capturing family pictures on vacation. But now with that USB-C and the speeds that we get to transfer with, and being able to use SSDs and things like that, like you mentioned, it really just changes how people are going to be using their workflow. Like I'm not gonna say there's no need. There's definitely some sort of there's a reason why people go out and buy those expensive cameras, but go out, buy yourself an $1,100-$1,200 iPhone, and you're 99% of the way there, at least for most cases.
Yeah, I shot the entire. I mean, not that it was some cinematography masterpiece.
Yeah.
Far from it, right? Far from it. But I did shoot the entire NAB video with my iPhone. Like, I was like, am I going to bring my standalone camera? No, it's not.
Nah,
It's
it
just
kept you
not
nimble,
necessary.
It was light,
Yeah,
easy to move around, and you didn't have to bring a bunch of stuff, maybe an extra battery pack or something, or a cable to charge after the fact. But because I will say, using the camera for 4K video does drain the battery relatively quickly, as it should. But outside of that, you're good to go.
yeah. The Rode Video Mic Pro, by the way, was
sounded good.
It's the Rode Wireless Pro, which
Yeah.
man, it's such a good microphone. Like, I can't recommend that thing enough. It is amazing at its noise rejection, and it made shooting so simple and so easy. Just had that and the iPhone. That was literally it. Speaking of travel, though, you had the travel iOS features.
Oh yeah. So earlier today, depending on when you're watching this video should or definitely is out. But it was something that I kind of discovered along the way. Like I knew iOS had some built-in features that kind of helped, I guess, quote unquote, in the travel subject or whatever the case is. Like their new Translate app that's been out for only about 2 years. But there's a lot of things built into iOS to help kind of enhance your travels or make it so you don't have to get more apps. Because of course there are apps that really help. They're more robust. They kind of help gamify traveling and things like that. But if you just want to know a bunch of simple things like being able to track your flight, right? Being able to translate in real time, using things like visual lookup and live text to easily translate a menu, currency converters, unit of measure converters, this is all built in directly to iOS. So if you're in the Notes app or if somebody sends you an iMessage, there's a lot of little things that just made my life easy when traveling. So I've released that video. There's like 25 different things that I noticed that I used over an 8-day span, whether it was like, for instance, we were in Belgium. The menu at a restaurant was in Belgian, obviously, or Dutch, I think it was, I believe. Excuse me if I'm incorrect, but so all I did was take a picture of it, and then it live translated it for me right then and there. Not only did it translate the words, but then it also translated the weight of, like, let's say a steak. Like, I don't know how much a 400-gram steak is in terms of ounces, right? Turns out it's like 10 ounces or something like that. And then also the price from euros to US dollars. So it was all just built into iOS, which was amazing. And then also some shared features. So my wife and I, we use shared notes to share itineraries with each other because she was kind of building the whole itinerary for us. I was just following along for the most part, but something that we could share and collaborate in real time with the Notes app. And then also we did a lot of train travel. So on my iPad Pro, we watched a movie together. She was using her AirPods. I was using my AirPods, shared audio, so we don't have to use one ear. We don't have to use the same AirPods and just put one ear in like we used to do back in the day. So there's, again, just a lot of built-in features that just made my life very easy without having to download anything additional. And a lot of things that I noticed. So hopefully that video is helpful to some people moving forward, that you don't really need to go out and, subscribe to another application or pay more because it's all really built in there.
That's a great concept for a video. Now, I'm curious though, you said flight tracking. What were you using for that?
So I used the built-in flight tracker in iOS. So basically, if you have your plane or your flight number, essentially, so it was like UA1234, it would underline it in iMessage, or it would underline it in the Notes app as if it's a link, and you just long press it, and then it shows you the flight tracking information. Now, again, it's not as robust as something like Flighty or something like the flight tracking app, but it gives you when it's leaving, when it's landing, how far along the flight you are, if it's delayed or not, what gate you're in. So it gives you all the necessary real-time info, right? Instead of having to download another application. And that even works perfectly if you're picking somebody up. If somebody sends you your flight information, you just long press on that flight info and you know when to pick them up. And what I like about it is that there's multiple ways to attack that. So it's like, yes, somebody could send it to you in a text via iMessage, or they can even send you a screenshot of like their United application, and then you can use live text to highlight that, and then it'll, again, find it in real time. So it just made life very easy, and it's something that I didn't notice until obviously I was, in the throes of it with my iPhone. And also like landmark tracking. So like you take a picture of a cool landmark, it knows where you are. Like we went to the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, and it knew we were there. And I was like, all right, cool. Like it gave me all the information of the Van Gogh Museum without me having to Google anything. So little things like that, just to make your life a little bit easier when traveling, and things that you didn't know even existed in iOS. Or maybe you did.
Very cool.
But something that I learned that I thought was a cool video idea when I got back. So that is live if you guys do want to check that out.
I definitely will be checking it out. Too bad you didn't have it posted last week when I was actually flying. But I'm going to use it. I'm going to actually check that out. That's cool. We'll also have it linked in the description down below for sure.
No, and the coolest one was the menu, honestly. Just taking a picture of a menu and finding out what some food was. It translated the food. It translated, like I said, the weight and the price. Because we were going from the UK, which is in pounds, which you forget the pounds are 1.5x dollars. So you're like, oh, you see the number on the menu? Oh, it's only like $20 for a steak. Turns out it's actually $30 for a steak, And then also like the euros, because that's different. That's like 1.1 to $1. So, and it's cool. It just uses, I think, Yahoo Finance to convert it all for the currency aspect. And then the temperature, right? Everything's in Celsius out there versus us, we're in Fahrenheit. So all that definitely helped out for sure.
All right. Well, that is a wrap. I'm like almost not on my deathbed, but like I feel pretty bad. I'm sure you don't feel great either.
We're getting through it.
Yeah, we're getting through it. But one thing I did want to mention though is that our membership that we spoke about last week, that will be launching on May 1st. So the membership for the YouTube channel, if you want to be a member, there's going to be several different perks. I'll just give you a sneak preview now. But so with the basic membership, it's called the We Think You're Going to Love It membership.
I love that. I love that pun. I think you're going to love it. I can picture Tim Cook with his hands.
Yeah. So you get loyalty badges. So there's different badges for however long you've been a member. So like one of the badges is a little iPhone emoji. There's a Mac emoji, a Macintosh, Vision Pro, iPod. There's even one for the Bondi Blue iMac.
Ready for it.
From back in the 90s. There's custom emoji. There's 2 exclusive wallpapers that you get every single month, so that will be included. There's photos and status updates for behind the scenes stuff that we're working on. Like if we get a new product, we'll post that onto their community page, and it'll just be for members to be able to see like what we're working on, so you can kind of be in the trenches with us. There's also priority replies to comments as well. So if you're a member, you reply, we're going to try our best to get to that. But there's also the One More Thing package, and we'll talk more about all this once it launches, but that will be 5 exclusive wallpapers a month, so you get 3 more. There's also 9 to 5 Mac Overtime Unplugged, which will be sort of a live stream. I don't know if it's like a live version of this show. It's not this show, but it'll be its own little thing.
Yeah.
Just for members every month, once a month. And then there's private Discord access, so you'll be able to jump in our private Discord, talk to the 9 to 5 Mac team. Some of the members that are joined in there, of course, you'll be able to talk to Fernando and I as well. And then we'll also include your name in the video credits. So, and we'll give you shout outs and stuff like that. So those 2 different tiers, we think you're going to love it. And one more thing, those are our membership tiers for the YouTube. What do you guys think? Let us know and give us some feedback.
And hopefully we get one more thing on May 7th, too. A little surprise.
Hopefully.
That'd be fun.
Hopefully. Yeah, it would be.
Yeah. But we're definitely excited to bring this to you guys. Definitely a lot of work in the background to get this done. But shout out to the viewers. Couldn't be here without you guys.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys. And we will reconvene next week.
Let's do it.